Ladies and gentlemen, people of the internet, welcome back to yet another episode of Crypto Over Coffee. It's episode 25, in fact, so we are at a quarter of a century of episodes. I hope you're doing well, and if you're new here, every single Friday I break down the latest news and the hottest topics in the world of technology and cryptocurrency whilst drinking a cup of delicious coffee. And today we are celebrating Cardano's launch of the long-awaited Shelley update, so we got plenty of that stuff going on. We've also got stuff about Bitcoin's price, Elrond's mainnet launch, and of course our usual 404 logic not found segment. But before we get into all of that, let's kick it off with questions from the community on YouTube and Twitter like we always do. So I will pull those up now here on the computer, but if you want to get one of your questions answered, make sure you leave them in the comments down below or tweet me at Hashoshi4. And if you would be so inclined, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell notification button down there below the video so you can get a heads up whenever I post new content here on the channel. So let's get started with these questions. Donovan Holler asks, how long you start your YouTube channel and why did you start your channel at first? This is a great question. I actually originally started this channel in November of 2017, and I started this channel with the sole purpose of creating a place where I could make videos about basic topics. What is blockchain? What is hashing? How does blockchain work? Why should I care about blockchain? And that's because I had family, I had friends, I had colleagues that were asking me the same questions over and over again, and I thought it would be easier for me to just provide them a place to go and watch a video of me saying the same thing over and over again, so it would save me time. It ended up being something that people actually enjoyed watching and that I actually enjoyed doing because a main hobby of mine was videos and photos. So I figured I'm just going to keep doing it. My full-time job is as a software engineer and solution architect, and I build decentralized applications, most of which that involve blockchain. And the rest is history. I just kept making videos, and I love this topic. I love this space, and I keep up with it in my everyday. So I figured I'll keep making videos. So really happy to do it and really thankful for all your support. Thanks for the question. Quick History asks, great insight. Seems like nothing but great news for Chainlink week after week. Could we see Link at $100 next year? Okay, here's the deal. I'm a big fan of Chainlink. Anyone who watches the channel knows that. I say a lot of things about Chainlink on the channel, and most of those things are good because most of the news for Chainlink is good. The reality is that no project is perfect. And the reality is that at some point in time, Chainlink could run out of steam and they could go through a cycle where they have to just build and grow, and then the price will start to go up again. We could have a pullback. There are so many things that could happen. We can't sit, no matter how much we love a project, and there are so many people out there, the Link Marines that think Link can only go up forever. And I understand why they think that, but you have to prepare for the fact that Link could go either way, as with any cryptocurrency. Doesn't mean it's a bad project, doesn't mean it doesn't have the quality to be a high value cryptocurrency. It's just not guaranteed. Could we see Link $100 next year? We could. Do I think it should be $100 next year? It depends, because it would need a lot of use and a lot of integrations in dApps that are used every day to really warrant that, which it definitely could have. So could we see it? Yes. Will we see it? Maybe not. We shall see. Thank you for the question. Michael asks, would you like to see Solidity support added to Digibyte? Short answer is no, and that might surprise people. I don't think Solidity is the right language for something like Digibyte for two reasons. One, it's heavy. You need a virtual machine to integrate it. I don't think the UTXO blockchain that is Digibyte really can accommodate Solidity in any provable or reasonable way. It just isn't really compatible. That said, I think that smart contracts could come to Digibyte in a different form. And I would urge the Digibyte folks to choose wisely what language or scripting language they use to base this new Digibyte smart contract language off of. Solidity, I just don't think is the right fit. I know that, talking to Josiah Spackman, well-known person in the Digibyte community, he said that it's in the works, at least thought leadership about smart contracts in Digibyte, but details are forthcoming. So thank you for your question. Jordan Chivallo, what VPN do you use and why? So I made a video about it on the channel in the past, and I still use it. My VPN of choice these days is Surfshark, and I will link that down below for anyone who's interested in picking up a VPN. There are multiple reasons why I do it and why I use Surfshark. Number one, it has the features that the big guys have, ExpressVPN, NordVPN. It has those features. It has a great user experience. All the apps work pretty flawlessly, but it costs way less. It's less than $2 per month to use Surfshark on all my devices, unlimited. I have it on my MacBook Pro here, have it on my phone, I have it on my tablet. I can put it on basically any device and it's unlimited. It's the best deal. Is it the perfect VPN? No, the perfect VPN doesn't really exist in my mind, but they have the privacy policy, they have the no logs policy, they have the security posture and level of customization that I want. So Surfshark's a great option for me. People might want something that's like a bigger name. In that case, I'd recommend ExpressVPN over NordVPN. I like Express better. So again, if you want a VPN, I recommend Surfshark. My second choice would be Express. I'll link them both down below. Thank you for your question, Jordan. H asks, or H, sorry if I mispronounced this. Can you please do a video on how to cash out profits? What options are available, like converting to stablecoins? Thank you. So there are a handful of options, but there's really no way of getting around the fact that you do desperately need a fiat on-ramp or off-ramp to do any fiat to crypto or crypto to fiat transactions. So that means that depending on what country you're in, they will be different. You're looking at exchanges, places like Kraken, Uphold, Coinbase, ShapeShift might be an option now, in the US at least. And then abroad, there are all sorts of different places to do that. NDAX in Canada. There are a ton of different options depending on where you live. You'll know them better depending on where you live. But you have a couple of options. You either move the crypto you want to sell from your cold storage, hopefully, if you're using best practices, over to the exchange, sell for cash, move cash via ACH. That's one option. The other option is to make your trades on a platform like ShapeShift, make your trades, move things to a stable coin in that wallet, and then move the stable coin over to something like Coinbase, for example, and then move it to cash. That's also an option. But cash out, really, it's dependent on finding the best place in terms of speed, in terms of cash out rates and withdrawal rates, in terms of fees, and then also who you trust. Obviously, you don't want to use a sketchy exchange. There are a ton of options. But yeah, that should give you at least a good starting point, but it varies depending on where you live. Thank you for your question. David Klefker, is Celsius the same as staking? It seems like they give better rates versus staking Tezos. They're actually giving up to 8% on some stablecoins. Okay, so Celsius is actually an interest earning platform or product. You go on Celsius, you let them take custody of your crypto, and I assume that they either lend it out to earn interest on your money, much like a bank would do, and they just give you a fair cut. Where staking comes into Celsius is that if you stake their CEL, I think is what it is, the Celsius token, you get better rates. So if you don't stake the Celsius token, you get not as good rates on your locked up crypto. So no, it is not the same. Staking Tezos, you're getting paid because you're performing a role in network governance and the security of the chain. Whereas in Celsius, staking, I guess, takes a similar role, but Celsius at its core is an interest earning product because it's like a lending product. So they're different, but I can see where people would think that they're the same because Celsius offers staking to get better rates. But hopefully that answers your question and that explains the differences a little bit better. Thank you for your question. Ultra Instinct, where did you get that Chainlink mug? So I had a Chainlink mug last week in my video. This is also a Chainlink mug. I think there's like a little tiny Chainlink icon here, and this is like my own custom Hashoshi mug. That's from Coffee Link. I will link their Twitter up down below. The folks over there were very nice. The community members in the Chainlink community helping promote coffee and Chainlink, basically an amazing thing for this channel. And they offered to make me mugs, so I got it from them. Highly recommend you check out their stuff. So I think that's going to do it for the questions. Let's go ahead and dive into the news. And like I said in the intro, Today is a special day because it's only a mere handful of hours since Cardano officially shipped the Shelley staking and incentives code on mainnet, and the hard fork to activate it went off successfully this week. Wearing the Shelley t-shirt to commemorate this occasion, which is available in my store, which should show up on the merch shelf down below this video. And this means that soon enough, in August, holders of the ADA cryptocurrency native to the platform will be able to formally earn rewards through staking in the network. Now, there are two things about this that make it huge news. First of all, this is great for the ADA cryptocurrency itself because it now holds more serious utility as a network governance lever, and I think that bodes well for its success long-term in the market. Second of all, this is a great time to shout out to the haters who promised that Shelley would never ship and that this was all a bag of air. Now look, I get the criticism for missed deadlines and for slow delivery. But hey, Cardano took a different approach. They chose the low and slow method instead of coming in hot and fast with new features. Neither approach is wrong, and in such a nascent space, we can't really judge that. Cardano delivered in time, in my opinion, because my real gut feeling was that if Cardano let Ethereum 2.0 grab headlines for proof of stake before Cardano could deliver, that would have spelled trouble. However, I was confident that the team would be able to deliver before Ethereum 2.0 can. What gets lost in all this is how truly challenging it is to develop a provably secure proof-of-stake network. Because while this form of consensus is undoubtedly more efficient energy-wise, and it works faster in terms of transaction throughput, it is an absolute nightmare to protect against a variety of economic and technological attacks. Alas, I want to offer my congratulations and commendations to the entire AIOHK team who delivered this code, but also the community behind Cardano who unwaveringly supported the project despite the delays and despite the FUD and all the stuff that was said online. That said, it's quite impressive that there are well over 100 active stake pools already running and chugging along nicely, I might add, on the mainnet, which personally blew away my expectations. And this level of participation is something that I think indicates the appetite for ADA holders and more serious technologists alike to get involved and contribute to the network in a real way. Now from here, sights are set firmly on the next hotly anticipated milestone dubbed Goguen, which will bring the Haskell-based programming language Plutus to the mainnet along with its graphical user interface-driven cousin named Marlowe. In my mind, this is the final step in cementing a place in 2021's turf war for smart contract-based platforms. Think things like Algorand, Tezos, Ethereum, Zilliqa, Cardano, and Elrond, actually. I would imagine the Cardano community will be aiming to see Goguen hit mainnet before the end of the year in 2020 to ensure that developers can get their hands dirty building dApps quickly with Plutus ahead of 2021. However, the most impactful development is in fact not Plutus at all. It's actually Marlowe. Marlowe represents a fairly unprecedented abstraction of the complexities that are involved in building out a quality decentralized application. Traditionally, this process takes experience, of which there is actually very little available in the market. It also takes a lot of resources in terms of money and time to do properly. However, Marlowe is posed to exploit that underserved niche in the marketplace by providing a graphical user interface based tool, I guess you could call it, that non-technical users can use to deploy functional and high-quality smart contracts onto the Cardano mainnet with absolutely no prior experience whatsoever. So just imagine with me a process manager at a financial institution, zero programming experience whatsoever, maybe not even technical, being able to drag and drop logical toll gates on a dashboard, click a button, and in no time flat, see that logical flow deployed as a smart contract on the Cardano mainnet. That is precisely what Marlowe is built to do. And I've played with the alpha version of Marlowe, and it has some serious potential. It's not perfect, it needs some cleaning up, but I'm sure it will be much better in its mainnet version. You've probably heard of Unibright, a project that has tons of hype these days. They're tapping into the same exact niche. They're making it super easy for non-technical and inexperienced individuals and businesses for that matter to step into the world of Web3 and blockchain without having to have exceptional high costs or having to hire new people or having to pay consultants. And this is something to watch closely, folks. This is something that you should definitely be keeping track of. And again, cheers to the Cardano team and on to the next one. Now, in other news, my favorite non-custodial exchange service, ShapeShift, just tapped Banksa as their new fiat-to-crypto payment provider, which is going to bring access to crypto to over 160 plus countries on ShapeShift's platform, both on web and on mobile. Now, with this generous fiat daily limit and a seamless on-ramp for fiat currency to cryptocurrency, this is a great move for ShapeShift, who are placing an emphasis now on giving users what they need the most. A reliable way to hold crypto offline in cold storage without having to sacrifice the nice-to-have features like swaps, direct buys, and exchange services, things like that. And this news comes shortly after the launch of the newly re-architected and revamped mobile app that takes the best features of the ShapeShift web app and brings them over to mobile devices like smartphones. Oh, and just a heads up, if you haven't tried the mobile app yet, you do get $3 worth of Bitcoin for free just to try it out. So it's not much, but it's still pretty cool if you do want to give it a check. Now, I do also want to mention that NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, whether or not you like them is not the point, have announced that they're beginning the selection process for cryptographic standards that are deemed viable for post-quantum use. In other words, cryptography that is safe to use in the advent of usable quantum computers. And if you're curious, one of the main threats that quantum computers pose to modern crypto systems, including those used virtually in every blockchain protocol on the market, is its ability to perform prime factorization extremely quickly using a theoretical algorithm called Shor's algorithm. Now, the reason that this is a threat is because current asymmetric cryptography, or cryptography that's reliant on a mutually derived public and private key, think Bitcoin, rely heavily on the high cost and difficulty in factoring large prime numbers for security. In essence, the security of a key pair is represented in one way by how difficult it is to take a public key that everyone can have access to and to work backwards to recreate the private key that it belongs to. This is because it's really difficult, infinitely difficult, in fact, to factor large prime numbers. In English, factoring is the process of finding which numbers multiply together to give you a given number. So let me illustrate this mathematically so it's clear. Don't worry, this is simplified. A public key in simple terms can be represented by two prime numbers. Let's say n, e. Given the formula n equals p times q, we can find the first prime number, n in this case, by selecting two random prime numbers and multiplying them together. So in this example, I'll show you here on the screen, let's use 5 and 7 just to keep it super simple. In reality, these numbers would be much larger. That makes n equal to 35. This is called the modulus. Then e, the exponent, is set to a large prime number, but it doesn't have to be random, so let's just use 5. So that leaves us with a public key, which is 35, 5. That's two prime numbers, like I said. Then to create the private key derived from that public key, we use another formula that's unnecessarily complex to explain here, but what you need to know is that it takes P, Q, and E, all the numbers that we've used so far, to produce a unique number for the private key's exponent, which we'll call D. The value of D becomes the exponent of the private key, like I said before, and the modulus is shared between our public key. So in our case here, the private key would be 35, 24. In order to figure out the private key given the public key, one would need to be able to figure out what P and Q were, the values that we picked randomly. The two prime numbers that we multiplied together, in other words, to give their shared modulus. And that's not so easy when you have a massive prime number to work with. You know, modern computers, even entire worlds worth of them, cannot reverse engineer a private key from a public key. But quantum computers theoretically have the power to do just that. Now, as a result, NIST has been researching alternative forms of cryptography that will hold up against this new enemy, and I, for one, am glad this is being done now, because we have plenty of problems with cybersecurity already in the current state of the world, let alone with the impending threat of quantum computers, which is, despite what people may believe, right around the corner. And that brings me to today's 404 Logic Not Found. And for those of you who are as of yet uninitiated in this little firecracker of a segment, I highlight notable tech-related fails or otherwise stupid moves in the world that need to get some attention. And speaking of attention, if you want to help this video get some attention from the YouTube algorithm, please do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. It tells the YouTube robots that you are enjoying the content and that you want to see more of it. Thank you for that in advance. So let's talk about this one. Now again, yet another notable data breach has occurred in the world, and ironically enough, the culprit is none other than Ledger, the popular manufacturer of hardware wallets intended to secure your cryptocurrency offline. The irony of a company specializing in hardware security being subject to a data breach is definitely not lost on me. But really, no one is immune to this problem. It's a systemic problem in the world right now. At any rate, Ledger announced this week in a disclosure to its customers that their marketing database was breached and personal data was stolen, including but not limited to phone numbers, addresses, emails, and full names. Of course, this goes without saying, if you've been on Ledger's mailing list or you bought something from them directly, please take necessary steps and actions right now. Remove all SMS 2FA from financial or crypto accounts, ratchet down the security on your email accounts, and make sure that you close the loop on this just in case your information was taken. This is exactly how hackers operate. They get information they need to make a move, then they target people who they think have a honeypot, basically anyone who has crypto. With your phone number, name, and address, they can do a lot of damage. They can get into a lot of accounts. So just please be careful. This is just another bold-faced example, though, of A, big companies not doing nearly enough to protect user information, and B, more proof that KYC, user account profiles, and data collection have to end on the internet. In 2020, no web service or company should even want the risk or responsibility of storing PII or address information or anything like that. And they should help shift towards zero-knowledge models using identity attestations from self-sovereign identity providers or just any other way of authenticating someone. Now, I preach this constantly, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing it as much as I'm sick of saying it, but I will continue to keep harping on it until things change. So 404, logic not found, Ledger, you've got to do better. Now, many of you come here every week looking for some fresh perspective on Bitcoin's price and what's happening in the world. So here you go. First of all, cheers to some of the positive price movement, because this week we finally got some good price movement upwards. Honestly, we saw some nice little spikes in Bitcoin well over the 10K mark and actually into the 11K. What did I tell you last week? I said, watch. I say it doesn't have the juice to hit 10K and sustain that. And here we are at 11K. I'm like the perfect reverse indicator. It like never fails. And you know what? I haven't the faintest idea what's driving this move with any certainty, really. I've really put a lot of thought in it, and I can't put my finger on why this is happening. But my best guess is that a lot of the news about banks starting to warm up to crypto and being legally allowed to offer crypto services has started to ignite the market. Not to mention the fact that altcoins have been blowing up, so I'm sure it's carrying Bitcoin up too as people take profits into Bitcoin. However, I wouldn't say holding your breath is a smart move here. I can't imagine that this lasts much longer. There will probably be another sizable drop here when miners take profits at these higher prices. But when that happens, or if that happens, really is anyone's guess. What I do believe is that the only thing that will take us to all-time highs again is entry by institutional investors in some capacity, as well as an influx of retail investors that are not just in it for a quick profit, but instead for genuine long-term investment. The more investors in the game that are just in it for a quick buck, the less stable this whole thing becomes. And at the first sign of trouble, these people that are looking for profit will cut and run and they'll sell out. And that's what causes these big drops. Now, my hope is that product companies in the crypto space, think people like Lolly, will continue to bring new users into the space, and that will inevitably keep us on the right track. So that's the hope. What do you think about Bitcoin? Let me know down in the comments below about where you think we're going. Now, another project that I've been digging into a lot more lately is Elrond, and it's been grabbing headlines after a super successful globally distributed testnet hit massive transaction throughput numbers, like crazy numbers. And then it also had a mainnet launch this past week that went off super successfully, no problems. So first of all, a big congratulations to the Elrond folks, because that's a really awesome achievement. And for those unfamiliar with Elrond, it's another fighter in the ring against Ethereum, Algorand, Cardano, and etc. And it offers what they call adaptive state sharding and secure proof of stake. In essence, Elrond is built to scale by way of parallel processing of three major components on the network. That would be storage, transaction processing, and network communications. This means that instead of relying on one concrete network to perform all of these roles at the same time, the network breaks it up into several smaller parallel processor networks that feed into a global state. This is very similar to what Ethereum is doing, obviously a different approach. It's really all about horizontal scaling. Now, along with the mainnet that just launched, Elrond also made a massive change to their token economics, reducing the total supply by 1,000 times from 20 billion ERD to 20 million ERD. I mean, that's huge and relatively unprecedented in my mind. Now, secondly, a deeply integrated mobile app is also in the works, which will serve as a wallet and interface for DeFi applications on Elrond that offer staking and interest-earning products according to the reports that I've read. So that will be really impactful in my mind. And I've read that there are tens of thousands of people signed up for access to that new app already. So Elrond is definitely a project to watch, and I myself will be keeping a close eye on it. Now, if you want to keep the party going, please do check out this video right here on the screen outlining some of my other favorite altcoin projects in the space if you have time to stick around. But as always, folks, thanks so much for stopping by. Have a fantastic weekend, you and your family, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.